So we're going to be getting into our panels now. There's going to be about, I think there's 3 today, and then we have Shark Tank at the end. So again, lunch is going to be at 12:15 to 12:30-ish time frame. That surprise is going to be coming up, and I promise you it will be worth it because we all need it. I think what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to hand you over to Courtney, and we're going to get into it. Round of applause for the next panel, folks. We're getting into it with some operations. Let's do it.
Let's go. Hi, everyone. So I don't know how we're going to follow that keynote, especially we're talking operations today. So maybe we just say ditto and just go get some drinks. Yeah, we'll go get some mimosas. Hi, everyone. I am Courtney Stillings, VP of Growth now with Franchise Business Review. Thanks, Maddie. Oh, wait. Time out. Does everyone know my CEO, Eric Stites, and also COO, Michelle Rowan? Yeah, okay. If you don't, they did send me with a quick thing. So hang on one second.
This just got good.
Maybe we are going to follow it very well.
I told you we're going to go get mimosas. So they had a message for you guys because they're not invited to these things anymore because they said they're old. So kids these days. Okay, now we can start. No, oh, thank you. If Maddie Zook makes you a customized jacket, you also have to wear that. But I'm sweating right now, so it's going to go on the back of this. All right, are we awake now? Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna make you high five, we won't do burpees, but I am so happy and grateful and thrilled to be here next to these 3 operational rock stars. If you don't know them, you definitely should, but I'll do a quick intro. And the fun part too is that when we were planning for this, I asked the 3 of them to give me a unique or fun fact about them, okay? 2 people did this assignment very well, Sarah and Whitney. And then Chris came in with something that I don't think I ever want to see in my life. But we're going to go through this. All right, so you're going last. So all the way at the end, I have Sarah Merriam with Shuck and Shack, COO. She has been with Shuck and Shack for 2 years, but has been in franchising for 12. Sarah's fun fact, and you can see this on a tattoo that I just learned, is that she will kick your ass in archery. So, and I can say ass because of Maddie's swearing, so am I. Then we also have Whitney Mann with East Coast Wings. She is the SVP of Brand Ops. She has been in franchising for 16 years, but with the brand for 20. I actually did not know this about you, but I am so happy to figure this out next time I need my hair done. But she has her cosmetology license and did hair for 10 years while also building her restaurant career. So woman of many talents. She is also a master color specialist, so Ruth's coming to you, and she keeps her license current as a Plan C. So if East Coast Wings doesn't work out, love it. Okay. And then Chris Stewart, directly to my left, he is the co-founder and COO of Bloomin' Blinds. He's been with Blinds since 2001, franchisor since 2014, but then also responsibly franchising since 2018. Chris gave me a fun fact about him, and if I have to know this, then everyone else is going to. So we're gonna picture this together. Chris was born with 7 teeth. Like, I was like, can you give me a fun fact, like what you do in your pastime? I don't know. No, we're gonna come out swinging with me picturing a newborn baby with 7 teeth.
I didn't know it was limited to work history.
Do we have a picture of this?
I know. And then you also give me your mom's cell phone number so we can...
Validation is everything.
Did you lose them? Do you still have those? Are they extras?
She may have knocked him out early.
We have so many questions. So we'll come back to this. Maybe we'll call up his mom afterwards to really validate this, because he did say validation is everything.
Phone a friend.
All right, so I am very glad that we got to follow up after that keynote, because everything that Devin and Morgan said, it's spot on, right? And what we're looking at today, tomorrow, and the rest of franchising is growing them, growing brands, but it's also how are we supporting them? Operations, yeah, it may not be glamorized as much as other development tracks or anything like that, but it is something that needs to be talked about, and that's why we're here. So we're going to get into this. We have a couple of subjects that we're going to hit upon, and I have a great panel to kind of back me up with some of these answers. Ready, guys? Yeah, let's go. Okay, so first and foremost, I know a huge subject right now in the world, and not just in franchising, is AI and other tools to kick up innovation within the brand, especially around operations and how do we create efficiencies to maximize the bottom line. I would love to hear how you leaders are using this in ops to provide efficiency and help the franchisees with that bottom line. Chris, I'm coming to you first. Let's go. AI.
If you've talked to me at all for the last couple of days, I've only really mentioned one thing, and it's kind of the cool stuff that AI is done for Bloomin' Blinds and where we're working with it. For operations, it's more than operations, it's our entire ecosystem now. Everything from CRM to SEO, PPC, merchant services, product configurator, review capture, lead capture from the net for scraping, avatar identity. AI is going to run everything for us. It launches in 83 days. We fully committed to it. I understand it enough to understand that I am not capable of delineating exactly where the code flows back and forth one to another, but I understand that it's accessible, it's affordable, and I believe it to be my responsibility as a franchisor to chase that on behalf of my franchisee and place it in their lap with such a point of benefit that it's exciting to adopt for them as opposed to a point of fear. And that workload is in our office, on our research, on our development, to know them well enough to be able to do that. There's a lack of all the committees and things like that within Bloomin' Blinds because I don't know that they're necessary. The lines of communication are so open from the franchisees to home office, and we did the job for so long that I'm intimately familiar with what that work looks like. And when we go chase AI tools and develop those things, I have an intimate knowledge of how they need to fit into their day. I'm in communication with them regularly, teasing these things, asking them, fishing out these questions, using FBR surveys, using all the different tools that this industry provides freely in so many capacities to find out what your franchisees need. It's the Zor's job to go chase the technological advancements and be first to market and give your brand that advantage in these areas. And for us, that was just a total release of control and letting AI be AI at speed and accuracy. And we talk about how you need to manage the output. We built a bot that only gives us the outputs we need. It's our own LLM. It's our own lens of the world. It's air-gapped information and a viewpoint for that perspective when it churns data from a support or a lead capture consumer-facing function. It's only through our lens. The output is only what we've taught it to be. So there's a capacity for to onboard these technologies now that I think if you're not engaging them actively and trying to onboard every single one of them you can, you may miss a few of the train cars that are already moving from the station.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that was a lot. I think I learned something new about AI. But I'm not going to bring age into this, but I think you are pretty kick-ass in that, so thank you. But I know that not all franchise brands are using AI. However, technology and innovation and how we are using that to support them and maximize revenue is so big, and it's always on the forefront. So Whitney, I'm coming to you next. Can you give me some examples of how East Coast Wings uses tech to help franchisees?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are not using AI in office. I know that some of us probably have it on our laptop, but the firewall is blocked because we don't have the current infrastructure to really develop that talent of how we're going to use it, how it's going to mold into our business. But we do have a solid tech stack. We use a business intelligence tool. Sam Ballas, our CEO, many of you know him. He is Mr. Driven by Unit Level Economics. So we use every bit of data that we can to populate that into our business intelligence tool to aggregate the things that give us what we call pre-planned toolkits. So our toolkits could be anything from an identified opportunity to help them with labor, which is a little cost of sales, anything inside the middle of the P&L. So we really use technology not only on the consumer side to drive revenue, but on the back end side to help our franchisees navigate through the different challenges that they face. And that's been really helpful for us.
Love it. Thank you. All right, Sarah, last but not least, I know Shuck and Check is a bit different and a little bit leaner on tech, so I love hearing the three different perspectives here. But leaning into kind of more on the menu innovation side, what does innovation look like specifically for menus or helping the franchisees?
Sure. Like with the technology piece, like
all of it comes back to knowing your system, right? And the worst thing that you can do is roll something out and not support it the way it needs to be supported. So we are very honest about what we can and cannot do, and we're constantly evaluating our priorities and what's going to be useful for our franchisees. So we look at keeping them focused on what's happening in the store, innovating within their units, and one way we do that is with our menu. So we actually just rolled out a complete redesign, took the approach of eliminating high cost, high waste items, low sellers, all of the strategic moves like that, but the biggest focus was also paring down the core menu, making it accessible for our franchisees and giving them space to get creative. With a team our size, there's 6 of us on our support team, it essentially acts as an extension of what would be our R&D department. So we have a system around recipe submissions, they can pitch ideas, they go through a whole process, and then we look at it, we assess it, we approve it, we track it, and it could be something that the entire system can have access to. And so it keeps them localized, it allows them to offer in their market what people are asking for that might not be something that works for everybody in the system. And then again, we can hit the market and hit certain trends a lot faster with not having the same resources on our support team.
Love it. And I'm going to take a section from Devin and Morgan's keynote too, I think, and we'll come back to this with franchisee partnerships, but a big part of that is trust equity. Like if you are rolling something out, if you want your franchisees to really believe in AI or any innovation or tech channels, they need to have that trust with you. And I think that does start, obviously, with that culture piece and understanding that and then moving the needle on revenue. Yeah, love it. Anything else on that? You guys good? Okay. All right, so now it's my favorite C word. Culture. Okay, so let's talk culture, baby. Culture is such a big part of winning brands and the exact reason why I handpicked these 3 people to be up here with me. From the whole vibe at Shuck and Shack. Has anyone been to Shuck and Shack before? All right. Yeah, JW, I see you. Okay, and then also East Coast Wings too, and their whole feel there. To the bright pink colors over at Bloomin' Blinds, which I'm actually surprised you're not wearing any pink today.
Where's your shoes?
I know.
The feet hurt. Vans weren't doing it.
No, I'm not doing it. And it's all of this culture, it's more than just a catchphrase, right? It is, how do you measure it? But it is real. And it's also helped with revenue growth. How, right? Well, I'm glad you asked. Sarah, I'm coming to you first because I know culture is such a big part of Shuck and Shack because I have been to a Shuck and Shack and obviously I know you and JW. But why do you think Shuck and Shack's culture is so monumental in your brand? Chris and Whitney, I'm coming to you after, but Sarah.
Yeah, so I don't think it's unique to the food service space, but culture is the only differentiator that we have. Like, I love our restaurants, I love our food, cocktails, everything's great. But that is not enough to set us apart. Like, it all comes back to the culture and creating the guest experience that's going to help us stand out, help, make sure that people are going to be coming back. And we talk a lot, like, culture exists whether it's good or bad, right? So you want to work really hard at making sure that the culture is going to be good and that it's going to be aligned with your brand and what you want people to perceive your brand as. And so our franchisees understand that you have to work to continue to keep that culture where it needs to be. That's top down, us going into the stores and visiting, franchisees training their staff, and then staff treating the guests that are coming into their restaurants the same. And so, yeah, I lost it on that one.
That's okay.
But yeah, so working at keeping the culture where it needs to be in every decision, and that correlates to working on their business. And we see a direct correlation between franchisees that understand the culture, that teach it to their staff, they embody it top down, and the revenue that they're bringing in. And they are always our top performing stores.
I was going to say that for the people in the back. So people, right, so there's a direct correlation to units that get the culture, meaning they put in the effort to maintain it, make sure their staff does the same, and their revenue growth. Who would have thought? Love it. Whit, what about you?
So we are all about simplicity. So our culture, as cliche as it sounds, is doing things the right way. So respect, integrity, guest service, have fun, and teamwork. And I echo Sarah, it has to start from the top. And I think the biggest pillar inside of those 5 points is integrity. And in its most simplistic definition is doing things the right way when nobody's looking. And I think that's the hardest one to also achieve. So when we look at what we're doing at home office and how we're taking that and navigating through how we build that trust foundation, which is so important, and take that to the unit level with the franchisors, it really is based off of the collaborative effort, right? If we can have that conversation with them and talk to them about what they need, what they're looking for, how can we help them, those are just opportunities for us to really dive into what the guest is saying about the business. If you walk in food beverage, right? So if you walk into one of our restaurants and you're not greeted within 10 or 15 seconds, you're standing there. In the restaurant space, it's seconds. It's not minutes, and seconds feel like minutes, and then they turn into moments of we're never coming back because nobody even took the time to say hello. And then you have some brands like Moe's Southwest Grill, right? When you walk in, everybody's like, hey, welcome to Moe's, and it's almost a little bit aggressive, but you're greeted, people know you're there, and they know that you're gonna get served, and we wanna have that same embodiment. So we have a 3-foot rule where if anybody inside of the business is within 3 feet of you, you have to speak to them. We also have that at home office. I don't care if we're passing each other in the hallway and it's a curse word or whatever you wanna say, it's hey, how are ya? Screw you, whatever, I'm mad, let's go hash it out. But it has to be something that we take into an accountability level of that trust with the franchise owners so that they can trickle it down to their team members and ultimately our guest experience.
Love it. And I just thought about like being hangry and not being greeted or being
And you know
overgreeted.
that, like, people come into
Get
the
out of my
restaurant
face.
space and they're mad. It's because they're hangry. And we have to take care of that, right? It's an experience. So, yeah.
Love it. All right, Chris, I know you have a little bit different take on this. They're replacing culture with another word.
Yeah, I think culture, hot take, I think culture is like 5th graders saying I love you. Like, it's just thrown out there so easily. And in some cases, it's used to replace like actual relationships that it's meant to develop. So for my background in leadership, it came from the fire service. I was a firefighter for a bunch of years. I was a firefighter for a bunch of years, so my leadership training came from a firehouse. A bunch of people from diverse backgrounds that are forced to cohabitate and do a single mission at a moment's notice when called upon. And it's that time in the firehouse, screwing with each other, playing fan ball, talk about it later, it's not covered by insurance. But all those things that you do in the meantime for when the bell drops so everybody focuses on the mission at hand is not a lot different than running an HQ for a franchisee system or a franchise system. All those people exist to do something for somebody else, and the minute they need it, all eyes need to turn to them and focus on it. So it was an easy correlation for me to do. We require all in-office work. I insist on having relationship with these people because the ask I put on them on behalf of the franchisees is monumental. And if they're not willing to drop everything that was just fun seconds ago to help them, that relationship is surface level at best and doesn't really have any value. So for us, I was able to bring that same sentiment and intention of when it really mattered to a revenue posture, because for those families, it really matters. It's life and death for their families. So the same perspective, same analogies I was able to convey to our team, and so that's our culture. It's a bunch of screw-offs that does a lot of really cool, impactful work the entire time, but some might not suspect that if they just look through the glass doors.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think you said really replacing the word culture with relationship, like for you guys. So I can definitely see that. All right, so switching gears here a little bit. Sometimes when we're all in, I call it dev mode, right, growth mode, or looking to keep adding so many units by a certain time, we forget how important it is to keep making those critical connections with current franchisees. Field visits make a huge impact on overall success for the brand. I know we talked about this as a group, but Whitney, you said something earlier to me, and it stuck with me, and I think I keep using it, but it's getting back into the unit. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more for everyone, and how this support pumps up the franchisee's success? Wow.
Yeah, get it out.
Woo!
Absolutely.
Girl needs a mimosa.
Oh, yes. He said, you have the notes. So the C word that should not be named that everybody went through really took everybody out of the unit, right? So we weren't able to go visit our restaurants and really make sure that we were making an impact. They had so much turnover. We were to go only. I mean, it was just a shit show, right? So we had to take a different approach to that. So we started everything task force wise that most brands did with how we were communicating with the franchisor, getting it all, or franchisee to get it all the way down to the team member and guest level. But in late 2022, we started rebuilding our field department. We hired 3 or 4 field operations specialists, wanted to make sure that we were taking everything that we knew that needed to happen from a brand standard perspective, not necessarily a health inspector, because in the food space, we have those, right? They come in, they give us that fun grade and tell us all the things that are wrong and need to be fixed. We want to be that from a food safety and sanitation perspective as the franchisor, but we also want to make sure that we're going in and making an impact. We know that they need simple direction, and we have to make sure that if it's anything from helping them get uniforms for their team members because they just have been so busy working the line and they haven't had time to place that order. Or if it's something that we can do and look and say, well, you have way too many towels and aprons from the vendor that we utilize. Pull out your last 3 invoices. Let's make sure they're not taking you for something that they shouldn't be because these guys work off commission and maybe you're working the line or you're bartending as an owner during this time. So how can we go in and in its simplest form make an impact? So that's what we really re-ratcheted our field visits to, and we actually call them IVRs, Impactful Visit Reports, that we deliver to them. It's a simple 1-pager, it's got pictures, and it's something that they can take away, whether we correct it on site or something that they cure by the time we come back.
Love it. Chris, going to you with the same question on field visits.
We're a mobile service. Field visits have a particular difficulty for us to try and arrange and manage, especially trying to pursue a small team with exponential capacity driven by AI. So we just don't have the extra staff to deploy out the field and do field visits. So the angle we picked was we've always seen our franchisees self-police each other really well. They establish in small clusters and work well together. So when they see somebody, a quote-unquote bad actor in the system, they're very good at self-policing and encouraging within the hey, guys, like, we're all doing this better. Like, you need to, not wear jeans, like, put on the uniform, clean your van, do whatever it is. So we decided to promote more social interactions on a quarterly basis, just to get them together and continue for them to create the relationship until we can get to the point where we can support this scale beneficial resource that we all believe we just don't have the assets to do on maintaining those field visits, creating a traveling road show of field visits and PR capacity. We have envisions. We're a bunch of brothers that run this, so we want to take an H1 and jack it up, paint it white, and make it look like a van and do all that stuff just for the photo help. But said that would be the thing, and so it's a dual win, but we're just not there yet. So we'll let them police each other. If they don't have to tell us and they handle it, even better. We can do more with that time. So.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes hand in hand in importance on an FAC. And if you don't have an FAC, even I give the advice, create a task force. It could be 2 or 3 people, and you don't have to have an official FAC when you first get started or if you're a smaller organization. But that also helps. You're having a champion that's on the inside that can also help with that. So
our FAC disbanded itself and changed for peer groups.
Okay, yeah, peer groups.
They didn't
Yeah.
feel the need for it because we just vomited information anyways,
Mm-hmm.
and so there was no wall necessary between us and them,
Yeah.
or no filter needed. So they would rather spend their time doing peer groups, and that's what it became.
Yeah, so you listen to their feedback is what you're saying, Chris. That's right. It's their life. Sarah, coming to you.
Yeah, so very similar to Whitney, field visits are always going to be a priority for us. We have a range of owners in our system that are incredibly removed and hands-off, and then we have owner-operators that are in their restaurants by choice 6-7 days a week. And so they don't have time to sit and read an email or answer a phone call, and I think we can all agree that sitting down with somebody face-to-face, like, it's much easier to have some very tough conversations as well. Everybody disarms when you're sitting there with them. It's real easy to hide behind a keyboard and send off an email and talk a bunch of shit, but when you're sitting down with somebody face to face, and I start every relationship with every franchisee, as long as we come to the table with mutual respect, like, say whatever you want. They don't have a sounding board. They don't have coworkers and colleagues to vent to, like we all have the luxury of. And so I can be that sounding board for them, and it's going to make a huge impact when I'm sitting with them in their restaurant. And again, to Whitney's point, some of these are going to be formal audits and compliance checks and making sure that everything is where it needs to be, but it's just a fresh set of eyes. Like, I want to walk into a restaurant and, like, one of my biggest pet peeves, and I correct the staff if they do this, is that I walk in and they're like, oh, corporate's here. And I'm like, no, that's not how we're going to do this. Because also, you're afraid of corporate, and then, like, I show up. So, like, it's not very intimidating. But I want them to welcome me walking into their restaurant. Like, I want them to be excited about anyone from our team coming in because they know that we're there to help them.
Yeah, well said. Play for the same team. Like, you're on the same team. Absolutely. Quick question. How many ops people do we have in the audience right now? So if you're an ops leader, okay. 2?
Hello, all 2 of you.
Hi, Marianne. I love her. All right. I feel like we're teaching you guys some new things then. I hope so, some of these dev people, if you're still awake. All right. One of the last questions that we have. Obviously, we know that collaboration and rowing the boat the same way helps increase overall morale, right? That's what we touched upon. That's what we heard with Burn Boot Camp. But that also trickles down to revenue. And at the end of the day, with COVID or any other situation, that trust equity is so huge. So I really want to dig into franchisee partnerships because that's the reason why we are all here, why we all have jobs. But it's exactly the reason why you leaders are here and you have your specific jobs within those brands. But driving each other forward, caring about the success of the brand and the franchisees, it's what it's all about. And if it isn't, then again, you're probably in the wrong business. But I'm turning this over to our panel to kind of bring this home on their last thoughts on the most important part of franchising, and that is the partnership with your franchisees. So, Chris, I'm going to come to you first, but what do you do in your organization in Bloomin' Blinds to promote this? And what are your overall success stories to really leverage that, obviously, to keep your brand high and then also the bottom line?
I think there's a clarity of messaging that we're pretty good at, and that's the full understanding. Part of our training includes a portion where we talk about our view of franchising and where we sit in that chain of custody of responsibility and where they sit and where suppliers sit. And we have a very overt conversation about how we view the model works best and where we see their position in it and where our responsibility is their responsibility. The movement of responsible franchising, I think, involves all parties, not just ZORs or FSOs or anybody or any particular individual. It's all of us doing our part of it correctly. So we're very overt about that. I don't know how to work behoove into this, but I was trying.
You just did.
So, yeah, that was for Drew. But it's very clear, like, we're here to make a profit, same as you. And in doing that, this is how we're going to do that. And this is your part of the partnership. This is our part of the partnership. We intend to get paid. We will absolutely get paid last, after everybody else, a month after the book of business closes. But that's why we're here. We're here to make sure all your checks clear, so ours clears. And so it's not a charity. We're all in business to make money, and we're not really hiding any of that. And it's a very upfront, overt conversation, so the hard conversations are easier when everybody's expectation is clear up front.
And I have to appreciate that about you, about all of you, and there's a good amount of other leaders in franchising that they're not scared to have those tough conversations. They don't put their head in the sand. They really want to understand the ins and outs because, again, if there's something that's not right at your field visit or having this conversation, you're losing money. Like the revenue is not going to be there. It's not going to be as strong.
The ease of that conversation directly relates to the operations and that support level, because when, much like the culture in office, when it's all fun and then something has to happen that's work related, if we get a support call or one of our franchisees calls and needs something, everything has to stop, help them as fast as possible because they're on site in front of a customer. They don't have time for niceties or how's the kids. They need the answer ASAP and then get off the phone so they can get back to engaging the customer. So that camaraderie that's built on the front end allows for those maintaining respect without all the pleasantries and niceties that have to be there when respect is unknown. If that relationship isn't so well solidified, that's required. For us, because it is, we can skip it and just get to the point and get off, and everyone's still happy.
I love it. Sarah, coming to you. Talk to me about franchisee partnerships.
Yeah, I think also tying in with the field visits, tying in with what we discussed earlier as far as menu innovation, like any way that we can show them and remind them consistently, like we're not full of shit when we tell you we're here to support you and that we care about your success, right? Like if they need something, whether it's showing up physically in their store, whatever we need to do to make sure that they know that we are actually there to help them be successful. I've never been a franchisee, but I understand and experience it often with our own franchisees. It's very easy to forget that 0% or any percentage of $0 is $0. So like, we may not put it as bluntly to the franchisees, like with that reminder, but like, hey, like we're in this together. Like, if you guys aren't making money, we're not making money. So like, listen to us, let us help you, and let's work on this together. And with the menu thing, all of that is recognition and making sure that they know that they're having an impact on the system themselves.
Love it. All right, Whit.
So for us, it's really building that relationship up front. It's so important. If you don't know their wife's name or their husband's name or their kid's name in that upfront process, then exactly what Chris said, those hot shot moments where you have to get involved and put out a fire quickly, it's not going to be as easy because they don't have that trust built for you. So collaboration with the franchise owners is huge, making sure that they do know that you're there to support them and be able to give them solutions to their opportunities. We don't call them problems, we call them opportunities. It's critical. And then having the relationship with them to where you don't hear silence, because that's the worst thing that you can hear. If your franchise owners are not reaching out to you for support, that's a huge red flag. That means they don't trust you and they're going rogue and they're going to do savage things that we've all experienced, but we know that the relationship there makes it that much more easy to have those opportunities not take place, and then we can give them that. So we have an FAC, a Franchise Advisory Council. We are very involved with them, making sure that they are a part of the decisions that we make. They are not the decision makers. We make the decisions, but we appreciate their input and their frontline knowledge base that really pushes us forward to give us those things to innovate and make things better, because that's what we're constantly striving for, is just continuing to make things better. And I think it really starts from the top down with casting that vision, making sure that they consistently know what the vision of our brand is and how we want to take it to the next level and continue to grow with them. And I think the biggest validation of that is current franchise owner growth. So 2/3 of our franchise owners are multi-unit operators. We have several right now that are looking to do their next one. And that in itself is the best FranDev validation that you can get. And it just means that they trust us, and we can give that reciprocated trust back to them by taking on their ideas and implementing them into our everyday business.
I love that. That was, yeah, multi-unit. Good job. Woo! Got the chill. I got the chills. So that kind of wraps up the script. Ditto.
That at the same time.
I love it. So I'm going to put you guys on the spot real quick. I know there's a lot of people not in operations in the audience right now. So if you had to give our dev friends, our marketing friends, anyone else that may not be in operations, any piece of advice as you are supporting the franchisees and helping them get to growth levels, what would it be?
Ooh, I'll take this one. Work together. There's power in alignment. So we can come to a table as development and operations and marketing and have the best idea. One person has the best idea, and then the other two are like, oh no, that sucks. But you have to work together and understand that when you leave that table, it's the best decision that you've ever made, and that is the only way that you're going to work. Operations we're the ones that have to take everything that you guys put together, right? Development gets the deals ready, they bring it to us, then they hand it off to operations. And then when operations aren't doing well, then the people say, oh, well, we need more marketing because we need top line sales. Well, let's look inside of your operations first to see if you can handle increased foot traffic. So I think the alignment piece between those executive leadership is super important to making sure that operations is flourishing. It makes a huge difference. Yes.
Yes. Do you even need this?
When it comes to your Fran Dev sales process, how heavy of a hand or decision maker do you guys as operations play in that, yes, we approve them to come on, or no, we don't? Because that's
Big.
that's a give and take here, and I think people would like to hear.
I think that's a great question, and it's a big part. So we're a part of Discovery Day. We want to make sure that the avatar that we've put together for our franchise owners is going to align with what their vision is as entrepreneurs and how they're going to move into the space and really work their business. So if we get those bad vibes up front, then we're going to communicate that with the dev team. Also, current franchise owners. So when they're ready to do number 2 and they come to operations and say, hey, we're ready to do number 2, and we collaborate with the dev team on that, I will tell them straight up, they're not ready. We actually did that last year. We had a franchise owner that was ready to do number 2, and we're like, oh no, stop the press, they are not. So I think that that plays a huge role into making sure that you're having those real conversations and not just worrying about, let's do another one.
For me, I'm usually the no with Kelsey. My older brother does our development. He works with Fastlane to manage the development side, but he's a singular mindset, and I have an alternative mindset in operations. So a lot of times from the sales mindset, he's trying to make reasons why they should. The old sales joke of, sales guys get to have the sex and operations raises the baby, right? We get them 18
Yes.
years, you get them 2 minutes, and we're done. And so we're stuck there for 18 years, and I'm telling him, think about this. 18 years later, are we wanting this execution level still in-house? And then they start thinking about what 18 years or what that evolution of the contract looks like, and all right, maybe not so much. So I'm the operations side, if you will. I mean, it's my brother, so there's no filter required. There's no politicking, it just is. But I'm usually the one that talks candidates out of it, because I think from the operations side, we understand what that execution looks like to get that person to that point.
I would echo what Whitney said. Like getting everybody on the same page, especially internally between your departments. Like, you never know who's going to throw out a different perspective or see some gaps that you haven't considered if it's your idea. With Discovery Days, as many people that can talk to that candidate and kind of assess them, again, somebody's going to notice something that you've missed. So as many people as you can get in the room without confusing it is always going to be the best way to go.
Yeah, I love it. And I will say this too, I think it's so important, and especially because we deal so much with ops, is we just keep challenging each other and keep learning. And if there's something that you don't understand on the dev side, going to that partner in your brand, and vice versa. If we're supposed to be doing more responsible franchising, that means a sense of transparency. I need to know what's going on, so we push each other to really learn that, because if we're all growing in the same way, the brand is, and then there's your bottom line. But yeah.
And just to add to that, if we're talking about current franchise owner growth, so our executive team has a different subset of franchise owners, and that subset changes depending on where they're at in their business. So if they're sustaining and they're trucking along and they're just as happy to give us their royalty as we are to take it, then that's operations, right? If we're talking about we want to grow top line traffic, then our marketing team is going to have that subset. If we're talking about doing, location number 2, 3, 4, 5, then the development executive is going to have that subset. And we go and actually meet with them and have that collaboration to give them insight into what we can take away from them and then put back into our layered team to help make them stronger. So that really just fuels the fire when it comes to all of the different levels of interaction with the franchise owners.
Love it. Well said. All right. Well, that wraps up here. Is there any questions other than Maddie? No? I know. Yeah, Zach. Why you gotta do that?
So I think it's important to ask this because, this prompted me from the development question that you guys had. When is the right time, because you guys all lead your operations departments, when is the right time to actually expand your team? Because there's a lot of talk that happens around the idea of private equity coming in, or you guys grow really fast and nobody really knows when the right time is. Some people believe that it's important to do it really early and almost overstaff. Some people are the opposite. And I think that there is a very much an argument over this, and it depends on the industry too. And I know this is a very nuanced question, but I think it's important. You guys will all have very different perspectives because your brands are at very different places. So,
Go ahead.
I think it's our Azores. It's our responsibility to have an abundant supply over the demand. Like what the franchise need, what they need from us, we should always have excess of. Whether that's time, material, energy, ideas, new products, ideas on the horizon, we should always be in front. That's our responsibility. That's why they pay royalty, is to take that money and continue to provide further benefits so they can make more at the local level.
So I think we've been on a roller coaster with this, and it does change throughout whatever the needs of the franchise owners are. And if you have them that they're all sustaining and they're doing well, and we're not bringing in new franchise owners because Sam pulled the throttle back and said, no, let's focus on what we have, then the infrastructure piece changes. Right now, we're in full-blown growth mode. So a lot of you know Ashley Mitchell. She just joined our team on the marketing side. We love her. Love her. And I think it's really important. And we just hired a franchise business coach, which we've never legitimately had. We've had field operations specialists, semantics. But we have an opportunity to put the cart before the horse to make sure that we're giving that appreciation that they're looking for when they pay that royalty monthly.
So I love this question, and I'm laughing at my boss because we should have expanded a year ago for our operations department. I'm a department of one. We're a very small team. And for anybody else in the emerging space, like, cross-train where you can. Don't overload your people, but like, as the person that's in the field and also helping to establish and develop the systems that we need ongoing, I am also very well versed in what marketing campaigns and strategies are out there so that when I'm on site and visiting with a franchisee, if they're asking this question, I don't have to redirect them. We can handle it in the moment, move on, keep things flowing in the right direction. So yeah, I think, and to what Chris and Whitney both said, like, if you're promising support, be ready to deliver on the support. So when you're looking at growing your team or adding those people, make sure that your franchisees, especially in the early days, because those are gonna be your validators, right? So like, make sure that from the start, you're able to support them and honor your obligation as the franchisor.
And you get what you pay for.
Good. Love it. All right, any other questions? We're good? All right, thanks guys.